I'm a woman, and I've been married to my husband for 2 years now. We got married pretty quickly after dating for a while, and things were good at first. But he has this really weird habit that's been causing problems. Every time he comes home, he sits in his car for 5 to 10 minutes before he comes into the house. He does this because of something really bad that happened to him before we met. He once came home and found his ex cheating on him with another guy. It was a huge shock for him, and now he sits in the car to deal with those bad feelings and memories. I know he's trying to cope with his past, but it makes me feel really uncomfortable, and we end up fighting about it a lot. Like, when we have people over for dinner or a party, he sits outside in his car before coming in to join us. Or when I've made dinner and it's ready and waiting for him, he still takes 10 minutes, just sitting in the car quietly. It drives me crazy sometimes. I was always worried that something important or urgent might happen and he wouldn't react the right way because of this habit. And then it actually did happen last week, just like I feared. My 8-year-old son was playing and he fell down the stairs really badly. He ended up breaking his ankle. He was crying and hurting so much, and I immediately called my husband to come home and take him to the hospital. My husband said he'd rushed from work, but then when he should have been home, I called him with no answer. I was so surprised and upset when I finally looked out the window and saw him just sitting there in his car outside our house. I felt shocked and angry at the same time. I couldn't believe he was doing this now of all times. I ran outside as fast as I could and asked him how long he'd been sitting there. He told me about 8 minutes, like it was no big deal. I asked why on earth he didn't come into the house right away to help with our emergency, and he said he would after 2 more minutes. Can you believe that? I was so mad and hurt, but I tried to hurry him along anyway. He kept insisting that he wouldn't feel okay coming in until the full 10 minutes were over. He told me to get my son ready to go to the hospital, but I just started yelling at him nonstop. I told him this was a serious family emergency and that he was acting crazy to stick to his routine at a time like this. I know I probably didn't react in the best way by yelling, but I was just so shocked by how he acted. I was really worried and scared for my son, and I had always thought about what my husband would do if there was a family emergency like this. I never imagined he'd just sit there in the car. I ended up taking my son myself when our neighbor heard the commotion and stepped in to offer us a ride. We went to the hospital right away, and later my husband came and tried to talk to me, but I didn't want to hear anything he had to say at that point. After we got home from the hospital, I packed a bag and went to stay with my mom. I texted my husband that I wanted a divorce. He tried to explain and justify what he did, sending me long messages. He said he couldn't help it and that he was nervous and wanted to help my son but felt stuck in the car. I didn't answer any of his messages. I was too upset. A few days later, his family started calling and texting me a lot. They said I was making my husband's trauma worse and that I didn't respect his boundaries by pushing him past his limits during his car routine. They made it sound like I was the bad guy in all this. I feel so lost and can't think straight because of everything that happened. My family is on my side about this whole thing, but I know they can sometimes take my side no matter what, so I'm not sure if I can totally trust their opinion. My husband is still trying really hard to talk me out of getting a divorce. He keeps saying I'm making a big deal out of nothing and that we can work through this. But I feel like I can't trust him anymore, especially when it comes to serious stuff like emergencies. He acted so cold and robotic during a family crisis, and I don't know if I can get past that. I should probably add that my son isn't my husband's biological child. We don't have any kids together. It's just me and my son from a previous relationship. I just don't know if I'm wrong for wanting to end our marriage because of this one incident, even though it was a really big deal to me. Am I the a-hole, or is this a good reason to get divorced?